Our final session of the day, going to be joined by two of the best dudes in this industry, Mr. Shane Kidwell and Coach Kyle Draper. How's it going, boys?
What's up, my guy?
Doing incredible. Happy to be here, Mitch.
I'm excited to see you.
Hey,
two.
why
you
do you go by Mitchell now? Have you elevated yourself?
Yeah, it's more professional. You know, I'm trying to elevate my business. No,
I like it.
It really started because, you know, when I went Facebook with the blue check, I had to go by my real name.
Oh,
and then everybody just started calling me Mitchell, and then I just went with it.
I'm not calling you.
I had a friend in high school. His name was.
I'm calling you Mitch, and I'm never changing that, and I'm stubborn. So, Dad, I haven't seen you talk about Caitlin Clark in at least a day. So I just wanted to make sure if you're being held hostage, just tug on your right ear.
You know, we had that Dewana Bonner join the team, and then she lost her starting job, and and now all of a sudden she quit the team. She wasn't playing for personal reasons.
I know one WNBA player.
Dude.
And when you said that other person, I don't even have enough time.
Mitch, I know Dewana Bonner.
Okay.
And I know the drama. So
if there was a Netflix series about the WNBA, I'd be an expert on it. But because there isn't, I'm not. Well, listen, we're excited to be here.
Drama in the WNBA to create a Netflix series, so it might be coming out soon.
There's enough.
Well, I'm excited to have you guys.
Well, we're gonna take this hostage and just get going, Mitch, if we can.
Okay. Yeah,
I would love it. So you call it the end of the day. I call it the beginning of the day. I mean, for me, we're just getting started here on the West Coast. So I don't know when you started this thing, but that was real bias against West Coast people. I just want to throw that out there one time.
It was 7 a.m. West Coast time.
All right. Okay.
Shane is salty today.
I'm salty, bro.
I am on Central Time, and I just think everybody does. You know, like it's just my mentality that everyone is.
Central Time should be the universal time, probably.
Yeah. I mean, it is called Central.
Would you guys, other than Mitch and Kyle, because I don't care to get where your guys' opinion right now, I want to know where everyone else is right now. What city are you in?
Come on, where's the people at?
Yeah, it's time. We got to kind of wake up the crowd. It's the last one of the day. We were supposed to be first, and then he put us last, But Iowa. Okay, that's
that's biblical. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So,
all right. Well,
here we are.
Well, we're excited to be here. I think this is something that you could look at social media. And you could say to yourself, been there, done that, heard this, this is outdated. It's been retread information that we're all experts on by now. And you would be completely wrong. And that's not because of you. It's because our industry was never taught how to build authentic connection. We weren't taught how to show up with legitimate authenticity. We weren't taught to understand the psychology of our audiences for some of you. And so what we're going to do over the next 30 to 45 minutes is break down why we believe that most loan officers are failing online. And certainly there are a few that aren't. And we're going to touch on, I think, why they aren't. And we're going to give you not only some things to take away to think about. Ultimately, we want you to win. We want you to be able to leverage social media as the number one. I would say it's the number one platform to leverage at little to no cost to grow your business.
Yep.
And in a market where resources are tight, where every lead matters, every interaction counts, intentionality is huge. And so what we want to do is just walk you through this to help you get to a place where you are not losing online. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll be in a place where that can happen. Because the reality is most loan officers are failing. And really what they're feeling isn't failure, it's frustration because of this effort versus loyalty dynamic that we have. That's a crisis. And if you're like me, I got in the industry. I got licensed at the end of 2009, really got started at the beginning of 2010, didn't get my first real break until 2014. And so for 4 years, I was just grinding out conversations, appointments, begging people to send me business. And I was operating from a place of desperation. I was operating from a place where I wasn't really showing up as myself. I was showing up and saying, and I wasn't even doing this out loud. My internal voice would say, I'd sit across from Kyle and I would say, who does Kyle need me to be today so that Kyle will send me a lead? And that's a place of desperation that nobody likes to be in. And so what happens is when you do that, you're putting in a tremendous amount of effort to grow a business. You're stepping onto that roller coaster, probably not tightening the seatbelt well enough. And then you're going up and down and you've got all this effort and you think that's going to convert and then it doesn't. And you lose that deal and you're counting on that $1 million deal back in 2010 that's going to make up for the last 3 months of lack of. And then you spend all this time on a weekend and you're sacrificing personal time. You're going from one job to another job. And then the agent demonstrates a complete lack of loyalty. And so we have a crisis where we're putting in all this effort, we're doing all these things, and we're getting little to no consistent result. If we lied to ourselves, we could find a deal and be like, oh yeah, look, that one deal, look, see, it's all been worth it. And yet the reality is if I said to you, Kyle, can you go ahead and replicate that for me so we can do that again next month? You couldn't do it.
Right.
You're not in control of your revenue. And so what we've really, Kyle and I, after building, friendship and digging in on this thing and coaching our people for now quite a bit of time, interviewing people on our podcast, speaking across the country, meeting with loan officers, thousands of them, you just are showing up incorrectly online. And so that's why you're getting treated incorrectly. You're showing up incorrectly. And so we're not showing up as ourselves because the reality is, and this is what's frustrating for Kyle and I, each one of you is extremely unique. You have a story and you bring tremendous value. And Mitch, if I would, I'd like you to ask, could you turn off the comments on the screen here? At least I can see it. It's right on the bottom right there. If you could turn that off, that'd be great. Because we got value right there. And there might be a QR code for $1,000 free gift. And so this is just something, Kyle, that we've been dealing with. And it's really why we built this series on how to show up online.
Yeah. And, I think as we jump into this, you have to understand that I don't even believe it's your fault that you suck at this.
Yeah.
Because in every mortgage office I've ever walked into, with just about every mortgage leader I've ever spoke with, they've all poorly educated you, the LO, on how to show up online coming from a place of contribution. And so you have been told your value is in the uniqueness of our company. And so every company, their value is price, their value is speed, their value is culture, right? All these things, product. But at the end of the day, Shane, what you and I know to be true and what everyone has experienced, whether you've been able to verbalize it or not, is the realtor partner and the consumer don't give a crap about those things. They want to work with people they can trust. And trust has never been established by just talking about speed, price, efficiency. There has to be the human algorithm in place, which is something that we coach on inside of the program. And I've been teaching this, Shane, for a decade. You and I have been doing this together for almost 2 years. And I really do believe that the next few slides that we're going to take people through is a significantly profound way that you have not seen social media before that is going to provide revelation to you to go, oh my gosh, now I get it. And we hope that you'll show up different from it.
Yeah, because the reality is, Kyle, is when we show up online, we, the average LO, the average agent, the people who have been told by our companies. It's about our products. It's about our speed. It's about our price, whatever those are. And they weren't taught either.
Right.
Well, mortgage companies are built and designed by LOs who worked hard and had some luck and became successful. They're just a little bit farther down the river than we are. And the reality is this has created an identity crisis. The problem is we're told we have to show up on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And yet we don't know who we are. We don't understand our goals, and we haven't identified the audience, like the persona that we want to show up so that we can support the audience and their basic needs. And so we just mimic other people. It's like when you cringe and you see, that person on TikTok doing a dance that a 20-year-old did, and you're going, that ain't landing well coming from you. They don't understand the platform. They don't understand the goal of the audience and the goal of that audience. And what you said is, this is the problem. So we want to push our wares. It's the shoe salesman selling shoes to people who own a shoe company, or to people who just bought new shoes and aren't thinking about shoes. It's the person selling you on an oil change when you're not thinking about getting an oil change. People don't think about your product until they need your product.
Right.
And so what we've done is we've said, I've got to push product. Well, and then we go, no, shoot, I see that guy online and he's like an influencer, and okay, I gotta motivate. Okay, cool. I'm gonna start motivating. They go, oh shoot, yeah, I gotta start giving people leads. And so we try that. We are a one-man band, frantically running around the state fair looking for somebody to put a coin in our can.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Not good.
Let the obvious be your guide. If what you're doing online isn't creating sustained revenue by having fun and being yourself and blessing other people, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yep.
And so what we want to get into is just kind of understanding that really we believe that you have mimicked one of three personalities, one of three identities. And the reality is it's time to choose. It's time to choose how you're going to show up online. And we're going to talk through three. Two of the three we think are more difficult for you to win at, but we can also find people living into that identity who are winning. And so our goal here is to say, hey, listen, your business is probably on life support. And instead of learning something that takes years to master, which you may never be able to master, Kyle is a naturally gifted public speaker. To show up as someone of influence and stand on a stage, you just may not be able to do it. And so what we want to do is identify and walk through these personalities. And then we want to give you a solution to the problem so that you can go out today.
That's right.
And create a more compelling offer. Because what we know about social media, and I have a guy in my life who just crushes it from the perspective of engaging with people online. He's probably on social media. Like if you looked at his phone activity, he's probably on social media 8 hours a day. Like he crushes it. If the definition of crushing it online is simply showing up and like vomiting things on people. And yet I know he's dead broke. I know he's had to shift his resume multiple times to try to keep money coming in the door for his family. And so what we want to do is walk through how you take this identity, you live into it, and it's got to fit you. And then you take the online, offline so that you can start to create friendship, start to create partnership, which is going to lead to consistent revenue. That's right. And that's where this becomes powerful. So first and foremost, when you're online, a lot of people want to be known as a mentor, an influencer. These are the people who, and what I put in here, which is so important to not gloss over, is they haphazardly approach this. They see a Gary Vee, or they see an Alex Hormozy, or a Tony Robbins, or just somebody in your local market. Maybe you see Kyle and you go, oh yeah. Okay. I can get on a stage. My local board of realtors will let me pay to be on a stage. I'm just going to go do that and be considered a mentor. And so they haphazardly approach this, but you don't have the resume, the quality of content, or the intentional approach to pull it off. And the reality is you're probably doing this approach while also trying to be multiple other personalities. You have a split personality. You have the chameleon syndrome where you're just trying to be, and again, it's going back to that mimicking of other people to just be something instead of just living into yourself. Right. And I would challenge you, take off the suit, put on the backwards hat and the hoodie or whatever your identity would be and live into that. Now, this isn't to say that mentors online aren't winning. They absolutely are. Mentors are the people where people are reaching out to them saying, Kyle, I'd like to pay you $1,000 for an hour of your time to get your opinion on something that's pivotal for my business. It's the people that are paid $10, $20, $50, $100,000 to speak on stage. It's the people who their Stripe accounts are pinging with revenue. It's the residual impact of their influence over others. And this is something that some people can do. But again, if you go back and look at Gary Vee 20 years ago, he's not the Gary Vee he is today.
Yeah.
He's a wine salesman poorly advertising on Google, who then through effort, through opportunity, through luck, through perseverance, through creativity, through not giving a crap what people think and just being there before the market was, he became a mentor. But you don't just overnight become a mentor. This is something that takes years of maturation. And so those of you right now who really want to become a mentor, that's fine. The question you need to ask yourself is, who do I need to become so that people see me as a person of influence?
Well, and Shane, I want to add two quick thoughts to this mentor piece before we introduce the next one. The first thing is this: good mentors can speak from a place of pain. Most people that I see in the lending space attempting to be a mentor, they only want to talk about their highlight reel. They only want people to think the absolute best of them. And they don't want to tell any of the stories of when they sucked, when they fell down, when they made the wrong decision. And so good mentors don't typically have big egos because bad decisions crushed that ego a long time ago. And it's been their humility that allowed them to crawl back up to the top of the mountain. And so I think that's a big, big piece to this. Also, good mentors are never absent. If anybody has ever had a good mentor, they're available whenever you need them, right? Shane, you and I both have people in our lives that at 11 p.m., you could call and they're going to answer, right? Like we've had people like that. And so in this capacity, you can't be the mentor, but go, yeah, I do a video every couple of weeks. You know, like I post about something personal every once in a while. You've got to be present in people's lives to carry this persona. And that's why this is a harder persona to do well, because it really requires a lot of you. And for a lot of mentors, like all the people you just named, their willingness to show up on social media is partially a passion project. Like they want to see people win so badly that they're going to show up constantly being available.
Yeah, I think there's a consistency and a vulnerability that most people in our industry, and this was me for many, many years, don't have. Yeah. And so you've got to ask yourself, and again, what we're talking about is the fact that you're showing up, mimicking someone else's behavior and persona, expecting to get the same result they're getting. That is the definition of stupidity, insanity, and it will never give you the result you want. And sorry to speak the hard, direct line here, but we want you to be able to do the least amount to get the most.
That's right.
And so it would be unwise of us as coaches to say, hey, here's the deal. You can take this spoon and go down to the river and eventually fill up your water bottle. When I can just say, hey, I've actually got a tap right over here you can just tap right into. Yep. Like that would be foolish. And so what we're really wanting to drive home is most of you are trying to show up as all of these people and failing at all three. And it's really important to identify how people show up online so that you can, again, it's not a problem to say, I really respect what David Goggins did. David was my personal coach for 11 months. And there's certainly things that I had in me that David brought out that now are just me. And David's more than most people considered a mentor, an influencer, and an authority, right? Yeah. And so it's really important. But the reality is this second personality, this second identity is the one that really, really, really drives home your current failures.
And should be avoided at all costs.
And the reason it should be avoided isn't because there aren't people doing it successfully. For you to do it successfully, you would have to show up in a way that most people can't, most people won't, and most people shouldn't. Yeah. And the problem with being, and we can go to this, the problem with being a vendor, because the reality is, and I love this picture, deep down, people who show up as vendors feel exactly like this guy.
Yeah.
The problem with being a vendor is you're one offer away from being replaced every single day. And you know it. You know it because here's how we as loan officers show up as vendors. We get online and we celebrate a closing. And we try to have this false humility where it's like, I'm celebrating Kyle on closing his home loan when the goal actually is for somebody to see that, be reminded that I close loans and indirectly want to work with me because I poorly communicated about Kyle's successful closing. It's posting about interest rate changes from the Fed as though the average U.S. citizen cares or even understands what that means.
Right.
It's about pushing products, 2-1 buy downs, renovation loans, DSCR, as though somebody who doesn't have an investment property, doesn't want an investment property, just bought their home 6 months ago and just started a new job as a school teacher, gives a rat's ass about investment properties. Again, it would be like my amazing oil change company marketing the price of a barrel of oil every day, talking about the newest viscosity that just came out on the market. I don't care until my check engine light comes on or my oil reminder light comes on, or I see the sticker and my mileage exceeds the mileage on that sticker. So again, it's not that people can't be vendors online. And most of you have been told by your companies, have a business page, talk about products. The reality is you're cheapening your authentic self every time you do this, unless you have the best rate, the best product that identically matches the audience's need. Because if you have that, and every so often somebody hits a hole-in-one on a golf course, it's rare, but it does happen. We would never say that that's what we should expect to happen every time I swing a golf club.
Right.
And yet that's what you're actually doing when you show up online as a vendor. When I say, hey guys, this just in, I got a new 5-star review on, I don't even want to say the name of it. The one platform that automatically posts your review with 0 context, 0 story, 0 authenticity. It's garbage. I had like 1,200 of those reviews and I didn't receive even 12 cents off of them. Because again, you're just projecting being a vendor.
Yep.
The other component to being a vendor, and I briefly touched on this at the very beginning, is you have distinct audiences on your Facebook feed, inside of your Instagram profile, consuming your videos on TikTok, reading what you're writing on LinkedIn. You might have an audience that's real estate agents. And what do we know without a doubt real estate agents want? What are their 3 primary drivers? They want to make more money. They want to have more time, work less, and they want to have more notoriety, become famous. If those are the 3 things they want, they really don't care about your renovation loan. They just want their client who's been shopping with them for 6 months to get off their ass, make an offer on a property they can actually get accepted on so that it can close, so that they can get a check in the mail or pick it up at the title office. And so they're indirectly leveraging your product, but the goal, the outcome they want is not to use your product. If I sat a group of 100 real estate agents down today and say, guys, I'm going to ask you a question, and as long as you're honest, I'm going to give each of you $1,000. So we could guarantee their honesty. And I said to them, Kyle, I'm going to give you two options. You can only pick one. Today, I'm going to give you a buyer who has a property identified that has enough cash to make a compelling offer today that will be accepted and will close in the next 5 days, or somebody who's leveraging financing with a lender I may or may not know that has hundreds of variables that could impact whether or not they actually close and needs 30 to 60 days to close. Which one would they choose 100 times out of 100? The all cash offer. And so the reality is they don't want us involved in their transaction. They just have to have us because most people don't have enough money. And so when we get online and we post our product updates, our rate updates, and every so often somebody say, thanks for this. Hey, that was great. They'll respond to the email with a lead. We get this false sense of hope because we just hit a hole in one. But the reality is that's not what they want. What they want, what everyone wants, is they want us to help them get what they want.
Yep.
And that's, go ahead.
Well, I was to say, Shane, I think a great identifier of this is if you're the LO that regularly uses corporate content for your social media, or you've said, yeah, corporate takes care of that. They post on all of our pages a couple times a week. If that's ever been true of you, you are, I hate to say it this way, but the worst kind of vendor. That not only are you a vendor, but you're a vendor that doesn't even care that you're a vendor. And you're just trying to blindly push this aside because you see no value in it. And it's a scary place to be.
Well, and what's crazy about that, again, the problem is that there are actually really good vendors out there. There are people right now online with hundreds of thousands of followers that every day on Instagram are pushing their strategic business message. Now they understand that what people want is freedom, leverage, stability. They understand that the emotional outcome is not the loan. The loan is the means to the end, and they understand that and they market that effectively. They are experts at this. Here's something to think about because you don't want to be a vendor. And I know you don't want to be a vendor because I didn't want to be one either. Imagine if you go to coffee and you're sitting down with a friend that you haven't seen in 10 years. And that friend, and I had this happen in my life. I had a friend who was a fireman friend of mine, and we just lost touch. He got a girlfriend, and I was married, and she was kind of weird, and we just stopped hanging out. I hadn't seen the guy in 10 years, and he had been one of my best friends. I hadn't seen one of my top 5 best friends. Spent tons of time with this guy. He was in fact, he was one of my groomsmen in my wedding.
Wow.
Hadn't heard from him. And to be honest, that hurt, right? Like I always kind of wondered what happened. Like, why did the guy stop putting effort into our friendship? And then lo and behold, out of the blue, he texted me and said, hey man, life has changed. My dad passed away. It caused me to reflect. How have you been? Would love to catch up. And I'm thinking, dude, this is awesome. He wants to catch up. He wants to apologize. I'm going to finally figure out why he, kind of dropped the ball. Man, I've had a lot happen in my life since then, and a lot I'd love to share with him. And it'd be great to have somebody who could listen. And so we go out to lunch. And within about 3 minutes, maybe less, he's like, so how'd you grow your business? And man, like, well, how did you start generating leads? And like, well, how much money were you able to make? And I just instantly in my head, that voice said, oh my gosh, he's just here to figure out how I succeeded in lending. He hadn't asked me a single question about myself. He identified himself as a vendor, and he made me feel like a cheap piece of meat. And I instantly in my head disengaged and was just thinking, man, what a bummer. Yeah. Like, I wonder how quickly I can get out of here because there's going to be traffic driving home. I'm not looking to stay for hours and catch up with this guy because I just feel used. The reality is we don't want to feel that way. We don't want to project that. And secondly, and lastly, before we move on, we don't want to be vendors, because the problem is when we actually work our tails off and get an agent to actually agree to take the online offline and meet for coffee, they still think you're a vendor, but they've just been told that they need to refer to 3, or they just feel bad, or they have nothing to do, or they tell themselves that their current vendor lender sucks. And so maybe they need a slightly less sucky vendor lender. So they meet for coffee. And within seconds, they do the same thing that my quote unquote friend did to me. So Kyle, do you have one-time close construction loans? How competitive are your ARM prices? Do you work weekends? What happens if I need you to update a pre-approval letter on a Sunday? They're treating you like a cheap piece of meat.
That's it.
And as soon as they do that, like, that's when you know that you need to refine how you present yourself online to be more of a connector.
That's it.
Because the reality is if you can be a mentor, you can win. You can increase your dollar per hour more if you can effectively be a mentor than any other persona. The problem is, as we talked about, most people don't have the willingness to be raw, fully vulnerable, share their faults, share into their insecurities, and then translate that internal story externally in a way that people gravitate towards. Most people just show up as a vendor. Here's my rate, and as the market moves, I become less or more valuable as a vendor. Here's my product. When my company takes that product away, I'm pissed. Now I'm looking for a new home that has one-time close construction or doctor loans or whatever. When that agent says, hey, Shane, do you work weekends? And I go, oh, well, how quickly can I get out of this meeting? Or you're so desperate, you go, yes, I'll work weekends. Now disrespecting your family, your 3-year-old, because you know that you don't have a way to sustainably grow your business. The reality is that the best place to be, the version of Shane on a scooter, having fun, me in my flow state, is when I'm a connector. Connectors focus on providing true value, bringing ideas to market that their audience sees as compelling. We act as connectors for people, resources, for positivity. We rarely focus on mortgage. And if we do, it's so little, and we're doing such a good job of being a connector that people aren't turned off. It's a subtle reminder that, yeah, we're still in the business. We're still selling loans. Although that's not the goal. That's what pays the bills, right? Yeah, I own that storage unit that you need, but man, I'm a home brewer that's a pastor on the weekends that wants to help my friends and family just be blessed in life. That's the connector. And when we show up as a connector, there's a few things we can do easily, consistently, and effectively that will help you grow your business online with the goal of taking the online offline. So first and foremost, we've just got to be more authentic. You've got to be able to take that internal voice that says something random and put that online. I remember one day I was getting ready to actually meet with my coach for 3 days in Laguna Beach. And I was at a coffee shop. I got there a day early, and I'm at a coffee shop with another guy practicing my homework before I had to get on stage in front of a group of 15 other men and share the man in the arena quote. And I'm there and I use the restroom, and there I go into the restroom and there is a urinal, and right next to the urinal is a giant hole. Like outside is exposed inside. And my brain is starting to go all these weird places. And I thought, I got to take a picture of this and post this online, right? That's a cheap example of just showing up authentically, taking the internal voice and projecting that externally into your social media feeds. It's sharing your life. It's sharing your family. It's connecting other people to the real Shane. And when you do that, you become more memorable. You become somebody who's not just a one-hit wonder. You become someone when you're walking through the halls of your building, when there's a title rep on the 8th floor and people are constantly coming in doing business, they go, you're Shane, aren't you? You're with Dwell. And not because I vomit products. It's because they know I drive a Bronco. I love donuts. I've got a beautiful little, very fierce 4-year-old. They know that I'm a huge Seahawks fan. I like to travel. And I do loans. But see, when you're somebody showing up authentically that instantly, like it takes it from a 10-foot high fence that no one really wants to climb over to like a 4-foot fence that people are willing to peek over and just check out what's going on the other side. And then when you're learning, you're teaching, you're sharing, you're giving them value, you're connecting people with value. You become somebody that fence gets a little bit lower and like, oh, Shane's sharing something. There's a discount going on at this. A new restaurant opened up down the street. He shared a vulnerable story that resonated with me and made me feel like I wasn't the only one struggling with anxiety. That fence goes a little bit lower. Then you start showing up online and you're sharing what you're doing with AI. You're sharing these prompts. You're sharing, hey, there's like that vulnerability piece. See, the best connectors start to become great mentors.
Yeah.
Because then I'm saying, hey, by the way, I started 3 businesses in the last 5 years and I failed at all of them. Here's what I learned. Number 1, make sure you understand accounting. Here's my accountant. This is what we do. If you haven't ever figured, again, I'm just sharing value with people authentically, lowering that fence, pulling back the curtain. And when we do this, when we show up this way, we don't ever have to talk about product. Because again, people will engage with me every day. Like this morning, I just ran a little test. I took a picture of a Tesla and I took a picture of my Bronco. This has nothing to do with anything that makes me money. In fact, it has everything to do with something that costs me a lot of money. And I go, I don't know, guys. I can't see it, man. These things are really ugly. Teslas, not Broncos. And I go, what do you think? I had people that I haven't seen in years online responding. People that if I was an effective connector and I was looking to get their business, I'm looking to take those conversations offline.
Right.
And the most strategic way to do that, again, connecting people with value, connecting people with positive emotions and feelings is when they're posting, they're asking questions, they're engaging, I'm engaging back with them. I'm saying, hey, Kyle, congrats, man. Dude, 15 years of marriage. Happy anniversary, man. That's so incredible. You have an incredible looking family. Dude, the Texas Rangers won the World Series. Congrats, brother. That's awesome. It's saying, hey, man, thank you for your post yesterday. That was super vulnerable. It's saying, hey, I saw you asking for a contractor. I've got a great contractor. It's then when you start to really elevate your game, creating, manufacturing unique, custom, compelling offers that you can then send in DMs to potential and current referral partners to take the online offline using direct messaging. And so that's where we want to kind of end today is I think we've done an effective job of reminding you that you probably are showing up online as a one-man band.
Yeah.
You're ineffectively playing the cymbals, the drums, squawking the trumpet, trying to strum the banjo while tapping your cymbal feet, and you look like a fool, right? You feel like a fool. You feel like a fraud. Honestly, you do deep down. Or maybe if, you've got great intentions and great effort, you're doing it for the right reasons with the wrong outcomes. You just feel exhausted, right? And the reality is what's so fun is you can change that today. You can start to take the internal voice and you can start to project that online. Yeah. You can go through your phone and you can look at a photo from the last 10 days that made you smile, and you can post it and share that story. As you start to do that, and we have a whole series called The Human Algorithm, where we walk people through how to show up authentically online, not talking about work. And now with this whole series around becoming a better connector, man, it really just seals the deal. And so what we wanted to end with is something you can do today. Because the reality is what we all want is to get more referral partners. That should be our number one audience on social media for most of us. Now, certainly there's somebody who's got a niche and they don't work with agents. We would love to interview you on our podcast to share your techniques. The vast majority of us right now need more agents because agents provide leads the quickest at the lowest cost. And if done correctly, they become a very sustainable source of business because they become our friends. Because when we show up authentically online, we can build true friendship. When we show up fake, projecting that we're a mentor or just being a vendor, nobody wants to be friends with a vendor. They instantly check out like I did with a former groomsman over beers. So here's what we want to do. Right now, there is a strategy you can do You can send 10 DMs, this simple script to 10 agents, whether you work with them or you don't, and nearly guarantee a positive result. And I'll tell you a specific and tangible story where I did this. So what do we know that all agents want? We talked about this at the beginning. They want to make more money. They want to work less. They want to have more notoriety. Yeah. If you can touch on one or more of those things and do that in such a fashion that they understand it, it's simple, it's short, it's concise, they're going to say yes to meeting with you to get that outcome. So here's what I did. I scrubbed my database. I found a lead who was looking to get a home. They weren't necessarily ready today, but they actually truly were looking to buy a home, and they didn't have a real estate agent that they were locked into a binding agreement with. And it certainly wasn't somebody that they're like, yeah, I think I'm going to use Kyle. It wasn't somebody that I know that they were like, maybe going to use. They're like, I don't have a good agent. What I did is I said, hey, Kyle, would you be open to a couple of introductions to some very different, but all highly qualified agents? Different strategies, different technology, different companies, but all people that if I were going to buy or sell a home, they would be on my short list. Because I know you're not necessarily ready today, but man, before I go to war, I got to have the troops prepared. Yeah. Because the day I know I'm going to make an offer that or the day that dream home becomes available is not the day to be preparing. Are you open to that? And they say yes. And here's what you do. You create a very quick DM. You find a market that they're looking in. They're saying, hey, I'm going to live in Fort Worth. Like Fort Worth is where I want to be. All good. Great. I write a DM. I say, and this is then sent to 10 real estate agents. Hey, fill in the blank. I've been working with a client, a friend, a prospect who's looking to buy a home in Fort Worth. I think they're going to qualify around 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. And they don't have an agent that they know and trust that they're working with. I'd like to grab coffee with you to see if you're the perfect fit for them or some variation of that. And so you might say, yeah. But like, okay, I did this. My office was up the hill from our local mall. And the closest point of that mall was a Starbucks. I could see it if I walked out the door of my building. I could see the Starbucks. It was a half mile. It was maybe a half mile away. I sent this was via email. It wasn't even DM. DM's way more effective. It was via email. I sent it to 10 agents that I didn't know. And I said, hey, we don't know each other, but we're friends online. I know you do great business in the Fort Worth area. I know. And I just said something about them so they knew it wasn't spam. Yep. I said, I got a client looking to buy, looking in Fort Worth. And if I'm being honest, if I'm being vulnerable, if I'm being transparent, I just don't have a great agent that I trust in that market to take care of them. They wanted to meet several different choices, and I put you on that short list. Before I introduce them, I'd love to grab coffee to make sure we're a good fit. It's always, because when you start dancing with a new partner, you're going to step on each other's toes. Sure. And I'd love to get that out of the way before we meet. I tell you, I sent 10 emails. I got 9 responses within minutes. That same day, I was walking up and down the hill having coffee with these agents. Why? Because I wrote a compelling offer. I basically said to them, without being non-compliant, Kyle, I'd like to put money in your pocket. And I'd like to put money in your pocket very soon. No one else right now in this instance has any money to give you right now except for me. Right now, I have the potential for money for you and I'd love to meet. Are you open to that? And they all say yes. 9 out of 10 met with me for coffee. What's crazy is what actually came out of that. One of those 10 meetings was with the team lead for Redfin. The way Redfin worked at the time was all their agents were active on their site and could sell deals, but they also had like their team leads. She oversaw the entire real estate team for Redfin Pacific Northwest, which was like all of Redfin at the time. That singular action turned into 127 closed loans. Come on. You can look it up on Google. My old Redfin testimonials are still there. That, when I factored in refinances, referrals to friends, actually turned into over 200 deals. So guys, what we need to remember is it's really fun. That guy on the scooter, living life. It is really fun when you master the art of showing up with a compelling offer to the right audience at the right time with authentic connection as the main primary driver. When you do this, you win. And when you win a lot. You can do this for free starting today.
That's right. And you also can do this ongoing for a really long time if you have the right people around you. And so we've taught a few strategies in the 45 minutes we've had that are inside of what we call the Collective. It is our coaching program where, guys, not only do we have a 12-month built-out curriculum, but we provide a DM script every single week to our members for them to touch base with referral partners, to touch base with past clients, to touch base with people from past life experiences. We also do what we call AI labs, where twice a month we're teaching you how to leverage AI in your business. We do From the Road, because I'm traveling all over the country, rubbing shoulders with really powerful people. And so we're teaching the things that we're learning. There's so much opportunity. And all of this, though we believe it's worth thousands of dollars, is $97 a month. And so if you've been compelled by anything that we've talked about, you need consistency, you need help, just like we all do. And we would love for you to say yes to us and come be a part of what we're doing at the Collective.
That's it, you guys. If you're not friends with us online, we show up every day online. It's how Kyle and I met and became friends. Yep. He has some incredible classes that he's going to be sharing, in one of which tomorrow, in the keynote tomorrow. And what I can tell you is my business has grown more through accidentally falling into the connector role online than anything else I ever did. And if I had somebody with a strategic plan to help me be a strategic connector with the technology that we have at our fingertips today, my business would probably double what it was without sacrificing my family and my health.
Yeah.
And that's what we really want for you guys.
That's it. Thanks for having us, Mitch.
Thank you, Mitch.
You're muted, Mitchell.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you joining us. Kyle, I'm a little offended you're not wearing a hat.
Dude, I got a haircut this morning, so I had to show it off. I probably will have a hat on tomorrow, though, for my talk.
Okay. It wouldn't hurt to wear that Field of Dreams hat, bro. Come on.
You know what? I'll rock that for my keynote tomorrow, just for you.
I appreciate that. I really, really, really appreciate that. Might have to dig mine out too. Mine's a little different. Shane never disappoints. Always got his hat on. I don't know what he's hiding under there, but have never seen him without one.
I mean, it's no hair gel, and it's a ball of goodness of just stuff.
Better than what I'm hiding under here, which is, yeah, what I'm hiding under here is the opposite. It's going away. Awesome, guys. Well, hey, if you guys are out there, go follow these two on social. I met both of these two on social, and I've learned a lot from both of them. Great guys, great people to follow for inspiration, and not just business, but in life as well. Amazing following your guys' journey. I love it. And everybody go out there and follow these guys, get involved with the Collective, and we'll see you guys all tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Awesome.